And welcome to The Record. I'm Tom Basile in for Greta Van Susteren. Happy last day of 2025. It is 4 p.m. on the East Coast, but in Qatar, it is already 2026. Take a look at that. They are ringing in the new year over there right now with a big light show and lots of people. Look like a concert there going on as well. And we're going to check in with our correspondents on the ground in some key cities across America. Yeah, look at that. And there's the ball. We're going to check in with them ahead of New Year's Eve celebrations here, and of course, how our police are keeping everyone safe. Also ahead, President Trump takes action over rampant welfare fraud in Minnesota. Daycare centers seen without any children in them. Illegal Somali migrants and other criminals are to blame, according to the feds. So what happens now, and who is going to be held accountable? It's not the only alleged fraud that we are covering. Another billion-dollar story has emerged involving checks to dead people during the Biden administration. Also coming up, flu cases are rising, including something called super flu. So what is it and how bad is it? We've made a house call, and we're going to talk with a physician about what we should know about this virus and how we can all just stay healthy generally. He's going to join us later this hour. But first, new developments on that welfare fraud scheme in Minnesota. The Trump administration now freezing all federal child care payments to the state. This comes after a now viral video from conservative YouTuber Nick Shirley showed daycare centers empty. The Department of Homeland Security has launched what it calls a, quote, massive operation to identify, arrest, and remove criminals who are defrauding the American people. Yesterday, DHS agents were seen on the ground in Minneapolis. Amidst all of this, we have also learned of another possible fraud scheme reaching clear across the country. It is a new audit from the Department of Housing and Urban Development looking at some questionable payments under the Biden administration. It found billions of dollars in federal rental assistance that was improperly distributed. Some of this improper distribution included payments to dead people. The audit found 200,000 tenants may not have qualified for aid. Nearly 30,000 of those people involved deceased people, and get this, nearly 10,000 who got the aid were non-citizens. Our national correspondent Joe Moeller is in Minneapolis with new details about what's going on there. Joe.
Yeah, you just mentioned Nick Shirley's viral video. One of the daycare centers that was mentioned is the Leering Center, which is just behind me here. That sign has now been fixed to learning, and this place was supposedly closed, but the parking lot behind me here looks pretty full here at this hour on this New Year's Eve at 3 p.m. local time. But now DHS says they are sending agents here. They have agents on the ground going door to door to investigate alleged fraud at businesses throughout this community and throughout the Twin Cities area. Now, this morning, Congressman James Comer of Kentucky announced that there will be 2 hearings on the nation's capital regarding the alleged fraud here in this city. One happening on January 7th. They will question state lawmakers. And on February 10th, they will be hearing with there will be a hearing with Governor Tim Walz. DHS agents are on the ground looking into alleged fraud in federally funded programs like child care subsidies and Medicaid. HHS is freezing federal child care payments to the state and requiring stronger documentation before funds are released. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz posted yesterday saying they have been taking action to combat the fraud. He even shared an opinion piece he wrote for the Minnesota Star Tribune. And take a look at this. After that viral video, reportedly, a Somali-owned daycare center south of downtown was broken into, and the owner claims documents with sensitive information, including enrollment information, were stolen. I stopped by that location, and take a look at this. The Nokomis Daycare Center has interesting signage, too, with several errors and inconsistencies, including toddlers and homework being spelled wrong. I did talk to a few locals here about what's happening in the Minnesota area.
As a business owner, it bothers me because I pay a lot of taxes, and to be able to hear things and have Trump and the federal government to come in and try to take over is what we need.
Well, I can't understand why it isn't taken more serious by our governor in the state here, because this has been going on for years, and we hear nothing but we need to raise our taxes and spend more on schools and spend more on children.
And Governor Tim Walz says that they have taken action to combat the fraud happening here in the state, allegedly. So I did reach out to his office to see if there has been any arrests made when it comes to the action they've taken, and we have not heard back from the governor's office just yet. But behind me here, I do want to leave you with a shot of the Leering Center, which is now the Learning Center. The parking lot is full. We have not seen it like this all day. These cars are in here. Some folks were just out here. I asked them if they're open. They told me, what do I think? And it appears the parking lot's full, but supposedly this place is closed today. But for now, we're live in Minneapolis. I'll send it back to you.
Hey, Joe, a quick follow-up for you. There have been calls now under the Minnesota state constitution to remove the governor or to potentially force some sort of a recall. And there are a number of lawmakers that are now calling for that. How loud is that chorus getting for Tim Walz to either be removed or potentially recalled?
Yeah, well, reportedly several state lawmakers are pushing for that here in Minnesota. And, you know, there's a stream of people who are coming by here, not only to take photos of this after that viral video, but just people who know what's going on here. They say they want something done here in the state and are upset with the governor after all this has taken place. Because, I mean, even just this month here in Minnesota, there has been a few different programs that the licensing has been suspended for a period of time due to so many applications. So people know that someone knows what's going on and they want something done. People say they want someone to be held accountable for what's going on here in this state as this investigation does continue. I'm sure there'll be a lot more coming in the coming weeks.
Joe Moeller in Minneapolis. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Happy New Year. Coming up, President Trump reveals who he thinks is to blame for that fraud in Minnesota. So what happens next? Who will be held accountable? And how do you prevent it from happening again? That when the record continues. Don't go away.
Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country.
Before Charlie Kirk died, he issued a stark warning of terrifying dangers ahead in a new book, Pagan Threat, authored by Pastor Lucas Miles. Charlie said Pagan Threat could save America and that you must read it. Get Pagan Threat free with Newsmax's special offer. Plus, get Dick Morse's new book, The Real Charlie Kirk. 2 great books with our free offer today.
Get ready to deck the walls with 14 days of deals at Cabinets to Go. Now through December 31st, there's nowhere better to save up to 70% on stunning kitchen cabinet collections. Then bring home even more for the holidays with deals every day on kitchen accents, accessories, and finishing touches. Plus a free 3D design consultation to help you get started. Wrap up your new kitchen before the new year for less at Cabinets to Go. Designed to wow. Sale ends December 31st.
This little light of mine has been dark for quite some time. Then I let in the light to help see more of the light inside of me.
I needed more from my antidepressant, so my doctor added Caplyta, proven to provide greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone, building on my progress without starting over. Weight gain and reported sexual side effects were not common.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta.
Help see more of the light inside of me.
Some breaking news for you on this New Year's Eve. Just now, President Trump announcing on Truth Social that the National Guard is being removed from Chicago, Los Angeles, and Portland. He also did indicate that they could be redeployed if crime soars again there. So we'll be keeping an eye on that story and any developments there. Meanwhile, as we mentioned earlier, the Trump administration is now freezing all federal child care payments to the state of Minnesota. This after a viral video alleged widespread fraud at child care centers across the state. President Trump blaming much of the fraud on illegal immigration. Today, he posted on Truth Social, quote, "Much of the Minnesota fraud, up to 90%, is caused caused by people that came into our country illegally from Somalia. Congresswoman Omar, an ungrateful loser who only complains and never contributes, is one of the many scammers. Okay, accusing the Congresswoman of committing a crime there. Maybe he knows something that we don't just yet. Let's bring in former Pennsylvania Senator and former presidential candidate Rick Santorum and national correspondent at the Daily Signal, Tony Kinnett. Senator, was restricting aid the right move? And what should Republicans in Congress actually do to ensure that there's some accountability here?
Well, certainly, if there doesn't seem to be any effort in Minnesota to really get to the bottom of this, and there's the governor just keeps deflecting back to the president that he's the problem and that there really isn't a problem in Minnesota. To me, it's perfectly reasonable to sort of put a hold. If they're not going to be willing to get to the bottom of the problem, then there should be a hold until someone does. As far as Congress is concerned, there really isn't much Congress can do. I mean, the charges of fraud has to be investigated. Obviously, the Attorney General, who is a Muslim himself and someone who is very close to the Somali community, has not done anything and really has not aggressively gone after this. So it's going to take federal authorities, get federal dollars involved. So federal authorities have to get to this and do it. The Congress can just look and examine what policy changes can be made to limit it. The biggest policy change is something that I've been advocating for a long time, which is to block grant these funds to the states, make them completely responsible for it. If they save money, they get to keep it. If they waste the money, then they're responsible for the overages.
Yeah, and those structural reforms, I think a lot of people are really interested in seeing. And this, Tony, seems like a real opportunity and for Republicans to demonstrate some leadership here. But if they just have some hearings, and this looks like a lot of theater, and they don't actually act, is that going to hurt them this year during the midterms, potentially with their base and independence? I can't tell you how many people talked about this over Christmas break. They're not talking about Ukraine. They're not talking about Israel. They're talking about this and the waste and the fraud and the abuse. And it's not just in Minnesota. It's all over the place. So is this an opportunity, and there be a risk here for them not acting?
I mean, I think that's very well put. It absolutely is a huge risk and a huge opportunity. And I think that realistically, it goes into what my colleague, the former senator, said so accurately, that Keith Ellison, the attorney general in Minnesota, is very close with this community. The whole thing stinks to high heaven. It's something Americans already suspected. That's one of the reasons it's being talked about. It's something that you and I have been promised for years was necessary. If we just dump money into universal child care, it was going to make everything better. And this kind of nonsense that has been spewing out of the left, that dumping money into systems magically fixes them, has been a real burr under the saddle of Americans for years. And you're right. I don't think that 8 or 9 Somali migrants arrested is going to fix this. I think that the federal government needs to stop every single dollar in every department going into Minnesota and then stay tough. Make it go to the Supreme Court if it has to. We all know a federal judge is going to step in and try to block that kind of emotion. It needs to stop until this is fixed. This is an extraordinary circumstance, and it needs to be treated as such.
I want to pivot here, Senator. New Year's Eve, after the ball drops tonight, in New York City, socialist Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani will be sworn into office on the Quran, I might add. How he does here will send a signal, I think, to the left across the country. What are you watching for the most in these first days and weeks of his new administration?
Well, I think you have to look at two things. You have to look at substance. Substantively, what is he going to try to do? Are there changes that he can make as mayor unilaterally that will give a direction as to where he's going? But you also have to watch, what his tone is. Is he going to be someone who, reaches out to the other side, which, it keeps sort of acts in a sense of normalcy, or is he going to maintain sort of this socialist activist community organizer type of profile where he's out there trying to catch headlines all the time by making sort of bombastic statements and going after people? So to me, it's not just a matter of substance, it's also a matter of tone, and I'll be looking for both.
Tony, he's 34. He has no relevant experience. He has talked about
he was a rapper in an apron. Come on,
globalizing the Intifada. What was that?
I mean, he was a rapper in an apron. That doesn't strike you and Senator Santorum as stellar experience? Come on. I do have to
I'm sorry,
interject.
I didn't mean to sell him short.
No, I do have to interject.
He's obviously made a lot of anti-Semitic. He's obviously made a lot of anti-Semitic remarks. What are you keeping your eyes open for here?
The child care plan that he has, that Kathy Hochul has stepped behind. We're looking at this major Minnesota fraud scandal with the Somali migrant community. Mamdani's out there saying he wants universal state-funded child care in New York City that you and I know is not going to be looked after out of concerns of Islamophobia. And therefore, he's going to push those policies. And now Governor Kathy Hochul of New York, she's lockstep behind him on this all of a sudden. Yeah. So we're literally watching Minnesota and its fraud schemes getting ready to happen in New York City in real time. And that's beside all of the anti-Semitic stuff, which is, of course, vehement. But that goes to what Senator Santorum said. That's the policy of the child care exploitation and then the rhetoric of the anti-Semitism. It's hand in hand with Mamdani.
Senator, we've been discussing, obviously, welfare reform earlier in the segment, but the House has passed an Obamacare reform package. Congress comes back next week. How do you think this plays out?
Well, I think the Republicans have the upper hand here and have actually done reasonably well. Usually Republicans do very poorly on healthcare because it's complicated and most members don't understand it. But this is one that's pretty simple. Obamacare is broken. It's hemorrhaging cash. The only way that it's driving up costs, premiums have doubled. People have lost their insurance, been moved on to Medicaid. It's been a disaster for the American public. And the answer the Democrats have is spend more money. The program doesn't work. Yeah, we'll just spend more money and it'll be fine. And Republicans have an opportunity to say, let's quit subsidizing insurance companies, quit subsidizing government, and give the money. We're putting more money in the system, but let's give it to the individuals and give them the power to control cost and to decide what kind of health care they want. And so if they move forward with a plan that moves takes the subsidies out of the insurance companies and gives them to individuals, I think they have a winning issue.
Tony, real quick for me, do you think that what the senator said, that is something that you could get 60 votes in the Senate for?
Absolutely, especially if you run it against Bernie Sanders, who thinks the insurance companies are coming to get you. If you run along with that and say, well, good, then undercut the insurance companies, you leave them with nothing to do. In a midterm year, that's dangerous. Absolutely, it's 60 vote possible.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. I wish you both a Happy New Year.
Happy
Senator
New Year.
Rick Santorum and Tony Kinnett, thank you, gentlemen. All right, only 5.2 million more pages to go. According to the New York Times, the Department of Justice still has roughly that many more pages of the Epstein files to review. The Times says the Justice Department is looking to hire 400 lawyers to help review those pages, and even with the 400 lawyers on their team, the document review is still expected to take at least until January 20th. Justice is defending its handling of the matter, writing on X, quote, "We have lawyers working round the clock to review and make the legally required redactions to protect victims, and we will release the documents as soon as possible." Well, the biggest non-story of 2025 looks like it's going to live on into next year. Coming up, U.S. markets have officially closed for the year. We're going to bring you the closing numbers. That when the record continues.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, at 91 years of age with my wife Shirley, who is 83. Now both of us are still cutting a wide swath in life, all because of Immuno 150. Now neither of us have any kind of sickness, and we're as flexible as we were 30 years ago, and we still do the physical things we did 30 years ago. Now, we are asking you to use Immuno 150 like we do. Give it a chance for at least 90 days so that you can see what 70 plant minerals and 80 additional nutrients can do for you. You won't believe it. Immuno 150 is an awesome nutritional supplement. There's nothing like it.
Yes, it really is incredible.
Yeah, try it. You will be surprised. Order online or call the number listed on the screen, but don't place your order until after you've watched the videos on our website. Thank you from both of us, and God bless.
Hi, I'm Gary Player. I'm a professional golfer. I've won 165 pro tournaments, but what means more to me than all of this is my ability to give back and do good.
You're an incredible human being. Like, you joined the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. You see the work we're doing.
I mean, what you do is fantastic. Tunnel to Towers is working every day to support America's greatest heroes. Please donate $11 a month at t2t.org.
Think of all the places that could expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second and quickly alerts you if we detect any suspicious activity, like changes to your investment accounts, home title, or new loans in your name. All through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that could make all the difference. LifeLock, for the threats you can't control.
Muscle cramps were keeping me up at night, so then I tried Slowmag, the magnesium plus calcium supplement that helps relax tense muscles so I can rest comfortably. And Slowmag tablets have a slow-release formula that's gentle on my stomach. That's why I use Slowmag.
Samaritan's Purse is ready to show the love of Christ to people in the most difficult circumstances. But we can't go without you. With your support, we can build homes, heal hearts, provide critical relief, and bring hope to a world in need. Donate now at SamaritansPurse.org. Let's get to work in Jesus' name.
You can't go out there. You'll never make it.
But I reckon I got to. I'm 45. It's time to screen for colon cancer.
Will I ever see you again?
I love you. Also, I'm just going to the porch.
I knew that.
It's true. The Cologuard test comes to you.
Just ask your provider or request online.
That way you can screen for colon cancer on your terms. It's effective and non-invasive.
False positive and negative results may occur. It is not for those at high risk. Skip the drama. Ask your provider or request Cologuard online.
U.S. markets have finished in the red to end the year. The Dow today closed down 0.63%, the Nasdaq down 0.76%, and the S&P 500 down 7.74%. But 2025 saw the Dow in the green by nearly 13% and the Nasdaq up more than 20%. And as we head into the new year, President Trump wants even lower interest rates. One way he hopes to do that is by replacing Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. But will that actually help? Let's bring in financial markets analyst Mitchell Feierstein, who is with us now. Mitch, good to see you. You know, we've spent so much time on this palace intrigue over the Fed. But the Fed chair is only one vote on the board. Will a new Fed chair, which the president says that he's going to announce at any time now, will that make a major difference in our monetary policy, do you think?
Well, no, I think that it will in terms of one person who is going to have a say to the entire board. But I think that the entire Federal Reserve System is broken, and it has been since the years of Alan Greenspan, and he introduced moral hazard as a big part of the Fed's mandate, third mandate, but it's an unheard of mandate. They have two mandates, price stability and full employment, but they've drifted to things like woke, DEI, and other things which have made them lose their focus, and they have been pretty much opposed to everything Trump and all of his policies since we got in. He got in early for his second term, and as we saw, every major economist on every channel was wrong about this year. We were right. Newsmax had it right. I mean, commodities outperformed the stock market, as you mentioned, 13% in the Dow, 20% in the Nasdaq, 16% in the S&P 500. But gains in commodities were even higher. Gold was up 65%, and silver was the best performing asset of the year, up 140%, closing the year out. The Fed has kept interest rates too high. 40 years of mistakes, policy mistakes they've made. So just changing the head of the Fed is not really going to do it. We need to restructure the Fed or actually get rid of the Fed. The Fed is not a bank, though, and it's not part of the federal government, which most people don't understand. What it is owned by the member banks, and that's where the problem comes in.
It's a significant issue, I agree. But look into your crystal ball for us, and I know the president has been talking about lowering those interest rates. What do you think we're going to see in the new year?
Well, I think next year we're going to see 2 to 3 interest rate cuts at least, and I think that they're going to have some significant headwinds with the employment, and that's got nothing to do with AI. But look, Joe Biden's team, during his 4 years, they made up over 2 million jobs, and good-paying jobs have not come back to above the level where they were during COVID and 1920 to 24. So this is a problem because what's happened was we had cumulative inflation of 27% during the Biden administration, and wages were nowhere near that. So that's where we have the mismatch, and we have a bit of a problem.
U.S. GDP grew 4.3% in the third quarter of 2025, the strongest growth in 2 years plus. Inflation at 2.7%, so that's good. The markets had a wild year, as we were discussing. What do you think Americans who are feeling the pinch from some of these hockey stick moments that we've had on pricing, and are concerned about AI and are concerned about the job market, what do you think that they can expect for their personal economies in 2026?
2026 there's going to be a lot of volatility because, look, as I mentioned, we had cumulative inflation under 4 years of Joe Biden and his money printing of 27% is not going to go away. So right now we have inflation down lower than it's been in a long time at 2.7 or 2.6%, depending upon which number you look at. So things are improving, but nothing's going to turn around on a dime. President Trump is a businessman. He's got policies in place that we've got to stick with. They will turn the economy around. Wages will go up and outpace inflation. The problem for the last 4 years is inflation outpaced wages by multiples. That is turning around, and people can see it. It's a painful situation, and unfortunately, the Biden it got us here. Policies.
Yeah, and it's going to take time. It's going to take another year, and of course, you have the tax cuts that people still haven't felt yet, particularly middle-income Americans, and that they're going to feel in a couple of months. Real quick for me. Very quickly, 30 seconds. What's something that you're looking at that maybe a lot of Americans aren't quite focused on when it comes to the economy?
Well, when it comes to the economy, what you've got to look at is watch the jobs numbers very carefully. Watch the 10-year note. The 10-year note is really significant. It's at 4.12 or 4.13 right now. That should go down below 3.75. Maybe down to 350 after we start cutting rates. All loans are based off of that, credit card loans, mortgages, and as that comes down, that's going to improve, where people can buy new homes, stimulate the housing market, and help the economy to grow. And I think that's the way forward for 2026. But the markets will have volatility. I think stocks down in the first quarter.
All right, Mitchell Feierstein. I'm sure we're going to be talking. There's a lot more to come on the economy. Thank you so much.
Have a great New Year.
You too. All right, it is time for an update alert. After more than a decade, the search for the missing Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 has officially resumed. Remember, March 8th, 2014, that flight vanished from the air traffic radar less than an hour after departing from Malaysia's capital. All 239 passengers and crew on board were presumed to have gone down somewhere in the Indian Ocean. But now, U.S. marine robotics company Ocean Infinity is going to be looking for that missing flight again. Ocean Infinity will conduct seabed search operations intermittently for 55 days. The company will search the Indian Ocean seabed using underwater vehicles, deep-sea drones, and advanced scanning technology. They're being compensated by the Malaysian government, and we wish them the very best of luck in solving the mystery of that ill-fated flight. Coming up, runny nose, body aches. Is it the super flu or just the regular flu or just a cold? I'm going to speak with a doctor to clear up some of the drama you might be seeing online about this latest virus. That when the record continues. Don't go away.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Order online and save $45. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS. That's urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS.
48% of Americans don't get enough magnesium, which is vital for bone, nerve, and muscle health. I recommend Kinnet's magnesium glycinate. It's formulated for high absorption and is gentle on the stomach. Kinnett, the brand I trust.
Hey, I just got a text from my sister. You remember Rick, her neighbor?
Sure. He's the 76-year-old guy who still runs marathons, right?
Sadly, not anymore.
What? You mean...
Mm-hmm. Just like that.
Wow. So sudden. We're not about to have the we need life insurance conversation again, are we?
No, we're having the we're getting coverage so we don't have to worry about it conversation.
So you're calling about the $9.95 a month plan from Colonial Penn?
I am. We put it off long enough. We are getting that $9.95 plan today.
Is it time for you to call about the $9.95 plan? I'm Jonathan from Colonial Penn Life Insurance Company. Sometimes we just need a reminder not to take today for granted. It could be the death of someone you know or a health scare. That's why today could be a great day to call for free information about Colonial Penn's $9.95 plan. If you're age 50 to 85, you can get guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance starting at just $9.95 a month. There are no health questions, so you can't be turned down for any health reason. This is permanent coverage. Just pay your premiums for lifelong security. The $9.95 plan is Colonial Penn's #1 most popular whole life plan. Options start at just $9.95 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. Your rate can never go up. It's locked in for life. Don't put it off. Take the first easy step. Call today for free information. And you'll also get this free beneficiary planner. So call now.
Call 1-800-601-9997 for your free information and free gift. That's 1-800-601-9997. There's no risk or obligation. That number again is 1-800-601-9997. 1-800-601-9997. Call now.
Hello, Colonial Penn?
Well, it's that time of year. Seasonal illnesses going around, including something called the super flu. The CDC has data on hospital visits for influenza-like illnesses. You've got the map on the screen. Highest activity, not surprisingly, New York City, Washington, D.C., Louisiana down there, and Colorado. Cases also up in Idaho, New Mexico, Michigan, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. Montana, South Dakota, they have minimal activity. Wyoming and also Vermont and West Virginia doing pretty well so far. So is this a bad flu season or is it just winter? And does that flu shot actually work this year? Dr. Frank Contacessa is an internist at Custom Care Medical in Palm Beach, Florida. Doctor, always good to see you. Thank you. Talk to us about the super flu. What is it?
Well, great to be here, Tom. So people should not get too nervous about this term super flu. This is really a sensationalized term. This is not a medical term. The super flu does not exist in medicine. This is being used to describe the rapidity of onset of symptoms with this particular strain and the speed that it's spread across the country. It's actually gone very quickly across the country, and the cases have gone up, but it's not more severe. The symptoms are not more severe. It's not more life-threatening or anything like that. It also refers to the fact that this particular strain is different from what's in the vaccine this year. So it is escaping the immunity that's conferred by the vaccine. So that's why it's being called superflu. People should not be nervous. It's a pretty typical flu season so far. So keep your hands clean and keep yourself healthy.
So, and the symptoms are no different on this one. It's just the flu. It's just a little bit more resistant, perhaps.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. You know, the symptoms are the classic sore throat, runny nose, fever, aches, and chills. You know, when you talk about the flu as compared to a typical viral cold, the flu comes on very quickly. People typically go from, you know, I feel fine to I think I'm coming down with something to I can't move out of bed within a matter of a few hours. So it's really marked by the higher fevers than a typical cold. A typical cold, you might get a 99 or 100, whereas with the flu, you're going to see those 101, 102 temperatures with the severe body aches where you really just can't get out of bed, that sort of a thing.
Yeah. All right. Now, you mentioned the flu shot. Now, the industry kind of guesses which strain may be dominant in a particular year. And then, of course, they have to produce a lot of it in advance. So they produce that shot in advance of the flu season. Is the flu shot working this year, or to what percentage? And you know, give us some guidance as to, you know, how effective it is right now.
Sure, Tom. As you said, it does take about a year to make the flu shot, and they're not right very often. It's a very difficult thing to predict, and they're not very good at it. On a good year, it's maybe 30 or 40% effective. On a bad year, it's single-digit effective, and it looks like this is going to be a bad year because this particular strain is different from what they've put into the formulation. I'll be honest with you, I am not pushing my patients to get this anymore. I don't get the flu shot anymore. Maybe you could make a case for an older person or somebody who has immunocompromised, but for a younger, healthier person, I really don't push it. If somebody wants to get it, they can. You know, we have about the same number of deaths from the flu shot now that we did in the 1970s. So if it was so effective, then we would be seeing far less hospitalizations and deaths from the flu. So I'm not pushing people to get it anymore.
Yeah, that's a really important point, that those statistics are critical, and I'm hearing more and more doctors say that they're not pushing this on patients any longer. All right, so we just went through the holiday season, and we're still, you know, people are going to celebrate tonight. That's usually the time when folks say, okay, now it's time to get back to the gym. We'd want to avoid the flu. We want to get healthy as we start 2026. Give us a couple of things that we can do to all live healthier in the new year.
That's right, Tom. If you want to stay healthier, especially through cold and flu season, how you keep your immune system strong is by maintaining a healthy weight. Diet and exercise, getting proper nutrients. I encourage people to take vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc as supplements, particularly during the winter, during cold and flu season. But, you know, as we enter into New Year's resolution season, you know, I really encourage people, you don't have to wait until January 1st to be healthy. This should be a year-long thing. I encourage people to make choices that are reasonable for them. Don't try to wake up the 1st of January and live a perfect lifestyle, because you're never going to be able to do that. Go after the lowest hanging fruit. So, you know, what's the worst thing that you're doing lifestyle wise? If it's drinking too much soda, try to drink less soda. If somebody's smoking, God forbid, then you should try to quit smoking. But make small, sustainable changes that you can live with, and then build on those one by one. You evolve into a healthy lifestyle.
That's really, really good advice to end 2025 and to kick off the new year. Dr. Frank Contacessa, as always, my friend, thank you so much. Happy New Year.
Happy and healthy.
Now to a travel update for you. If you just couldn't wait to take that trip to Mali or Burkina Faso, we have some bad news. You're going to have to wait a little longer. The two West African nations are banning Americans from traveling there. Bummer, right? Both Mali and Burkina Faso are implementing bans on Americans after President Trump banned those countries from traveling to the United States. Yesterday, the foreign minister of Mali said it rejects the Trump administration's reasoning that Mali is unsafe. Both Mali and Burkina Faso are run by a military junta who seized power after government coup. You be the judge. Coming up, let the celebration begin. We're going to bring you some live reports from a couple of major American cities where there are going to be big parties tonight, ringing in the new year. We're also going to see how our police are protecting all of us. That's next when the record continues.
Halfway doesn't win fights. We show up every day. We run at sunrise, jump rope, we do bag work. Sit-ups, push-ups, footwork, repeat. One good habit at a time. I'm proud to partner with Balance of Nature, 3 whole fruit and vegetable ingredients. Nothing halfway. Consistency beats talent. How bad do you want it?
Lock in 50% off for 1 year when you subscribe to the Whole Health System.
From drained investment accounts and stolen tax returns to lost wages and hiring lawyers, identity theft can cost you more than you might think. That's why only LifeLock offers the $1 Million Protection Package, which covers stolen funds, experts and lawyers, and out-of-pocket expenses up to $3 million in total. Don't face the high cost of identity theft alone. Protect your future and finances with LifeLock. Join today.
During the Omaha Steaks end of season event, save 50% site-wide and get our Butcher's Classic assortment with USDA certified tender filet mignon and top sirloin fillets for just $99.99. Plus, get 8 burgers free. Visit omahasteaks.com/TV today.
Like a relentless weed, moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms can keep coming back. Break away to what's possible with Tremfya. With symptom relief as early as 4 weeks, remission at 12 weeks, and lasting remission at 1 year. Some even saw visible healing of the intestinal lining. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today.
I'm Eric. I'm a pilot. When I'm congested, I can't breathe. I can't sleep. But I can't tell my passengers I can't fly today. That's why I Navage. I've tried nasal sprays, but with Navage, I have the power to remove congestion fast by flushing out germs, mucus, bacteria, and viruses through powered suction in like 30 seconds. I can see the results. I can feel the results.
This cold season, get #1 doctor-recommended Navage, available online and in store.
There are only a few men I'd trust with my life. 2 of them built this wallet. I've known the guys behind Proof for nearly 20 years, and we've been through hell and back together. When they told me they were building the wallet, I just said, bill me now, I'm in. This isn't some fashion piece. This isn't just some trend. These wallets are a direct reflection of the kind of men who built it. It's built to last, built to function, and designed to carry everything you need and more. If anything happens to it, they'll take care of it. No questions, no fine print. If you knew the guys who created this wallet, you wouldn't carry anything else. Go check them out, because they built this thing right.
Well, we are less than 8 hours away from 2026. 1 million people are expected to fill the streets of Times Square in New York City to watch the ball drop. The viewing area is officially open, and people have begun filling in. They're going to need to stay put all the way through to the big celebration at midnight, and hopefully they've used the bathroom. Our correspondent Christina Thompson is in New York with the very latest there from where it's all going to happen in just a little while. Christina.
Tom, you know, everyone always finds that the most fascinating, funniest part about when people come down here to Times Square to watch the ball drop is the fact that there are no bathrooms. So yes, if you're coming out here to celebrate, please make sure you do that in advance. But you are right, these police pens are starting to fill up with revelers slowly but surely as police officers are making sure that they get everyone here in a steady and safe manner. We've spoken to some of them beforehand. We know they have a whole plan in place to make sure that people out here who are celebrating remain safe. They've got canine units, helicopters, drones, everything you can think of to make sure that you are safe if you want to ring in the new year here in iconic Times Square. Speaking of iconic, That ball is just over my shoulder. You can see it up there behind the 2026 sign. That's actually a new ball this year, the Constellation ball. It was unveiled in November. It's the largest iteration of the Times Square New Year's Eve ball since it began in the early 1900s. We're going to be out here all evening. I will be here when the ball drops to strike midnight and bring in a new year, Tom. I'm excited to be out here with all the revelers who, as you can see, are steadily making their way into Times Square.
And it looks pretty cold out there. I've done that. I did that once a long time ago, and it is an amazing experience, but you have to really, really want to stand out there for 8 to 12 hours in order to get a really good view of the ball and be right in the middle of it all. Well, Christina Thompson, we're going to be watching tonight. Thank you so much. Have a great time.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And now down to the Big Easy. Their New Year's celebrations looking a little different this year. Tonight marks a year since a terrorist attack in New Orleans' Bourbon Street. The National Guard has been deployed to help with the city's security measures there. Our senior correspondent, John Huddy, is down there in New Orleans with the very latest. John.
Yeah, Tom, there's 800 law enforcement officers, including the New Orleans Police Department, along with Louisiana State Troopers and federal agencies, including the FBI, that are patrolling all of downtown New Orleans, particularly the enhanced security zone, which is essentially the French Quarter. This is, of course, along Bourbon Street, just for some context, where the terror attack happened January 1st around 3:15 in the morning. So this year, there's always enhanced security, particularly for all these events, New Year's Eve, Mardi Gras, the Sugar Bowl, which is tomorrow. But because of what happened on January 1st of this year, they've kicked it up even more so, the federal resources, along with 350 National Guard troops. You can see some of them here. All the folks that we've been talking to, Tom, and by the way, over the last year, they've also increased some of the security procedures, particularly along Bourbon Street, more ballards, basically more barricades here. That's a little bit of a thorny issue. Some local officials feel there should be more measures, but nonetheless, as that contention continues, today what we have seen is definitely that increased security level. We've been talking to folks throughout the afternoon, and Tom, listen, every single person that I've talked to all day, there's not one person, not only tourists coming in to support their team, whether it's Ole Miss, whether it's Georgia, who are happy to see the National Guard, but even New Orleans residents that we talked to who say it makes the city safer and cleaner. Here's what some folks had to say. Listen.
This is the safest we've seen it, and we grew up here, so this is the clean, as he said, the cleanest, the safest. I like seeing them out here.
More security's better, and I'm glad to see our National Guard out doing their job, and the state police and the city police. It's New Orleans. It takes all of them. What do they say? It takes a village. It's such an amazing place for people to come to, and we want to enjoy it. And we live 30 minutes away, and we've been avoiding it. So, and here we are, though, and it's great. So I'm super happy.
Please don't give me a shot.
Yeah, and Tom, that's essentially what I've heard, including from these young ladies. Hello, girls. That's your cue.
I'm from New Orleans, and these are my college friends. They're from Jackson, Mississippi, and Houston, Texas.
You can hold the mic a little bit loud. Let me ask you guys real quick. There's a lot of security, obviously, because of what happened earlier this year. What do you think about seeing National Guard? It makes you feel safer?
I think that New Orleans is the safest that it's ever been, and last year was a terrible event, and I think that, you know, we have security now. We have it, and this is the best place to be on New Year's Eve, and I've got my friends here.
I feel safer than I ever been.
Are you Ole Miss fans?
We're Ole Miss fans. We go to Ole Miss. We go to Ole Miss, and we're fans. So, you know, Happy New Year.
One of my colleagues is a Georgia fan, but that's okay.
That's okay. It's okay.
I just hung out with a lot of Ole Miss fans over here, so God bless you
Ole
guys.
Miss. Hotty toddy.
Enjoy yourselves.
Happy New Year.
Have fun.
I love New Orleans. I love my city. Yes. Stay safe.
Stay safe. We love your city, too.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Tom, back to you.
John Huddy, who is having a good time. Happy New Year to you, my friend. Have a hurricane and a beignet from me while you're there. Yeah. Take care. All right. It is going to be lit as the young people say. Tonight, the Washington Monument will transform into a giant birthday candle to kick off America's 250th anniversary celebration. Freedom 250, a nonprofit group launched by President Trump earlier this month, is leading the charge. The group says the illumination of the Washington Monument, quote, marks the beginning of a momentous year for our nation, 250 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And it is going to be really spectacular what they have planned for the Washington Monument. And a reminder, you can tune into Newsmax tonight for special coverage of New Year's Eve. My colleague Sean Kreisman there in his tuxedo is going to be in Times Square along with Katrina Zisch in our New York studios. They're going to bring you all of the excitement live. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern. Coming up, some drivers in Illinois ended up on the naughty list. I'm going to show you why and what happened. But some of it is so bad we can't even show it to you on television. That when the record continues.
You hear the same voices.
Donald Trump knows that's a lie.
From the same people.
Donald Trump is less lucid.
Saying the same thing.
Insults, invective, and outright lies.
And you say, enough! I'm Chris Salcedo, and I'll tell you the real news. You don't believe me? Just tune in.
This is a story about the one. The one who looks to Grainger to make sparks fly. Getting it done right is a craft. It takes experience, the right material, and the right partner like Grainger with a wide range of professional-grade products. For the one, working hard means others can play even harder. Call, click Grainger.com, or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi, I'm Ben Cozy. Isn't traveling a pain in the neck? You're cramped, uncomfortable, and forget about getting any rest. There's nothing cozy about airplane seats or hard plastic benches, and those so-called travel pillows, they just don't cut it. You don't need another travel pillow. You need Be Cozy, the world's most comfortable neck pillow. Trapped in the middle seat? Wrap Be Cozy around your neck to stop chin drop, bobblehead napping. Smashed up against the window? Fold Be Cozy over and tuck it onto your shoulder for super side support. Frequent flyer miles got you sitting aisle? Turn Be Cozy to the side for the perfect pillow position. Everyone wants to be cozy, so get the world's most comfortable travel neck pillow and be cozy just like me, Ben Cozy. You get to be cozy. Everyone gets a Be Cozy. Only Be Cozy has patented overlapping arms so you get double support and the comfort you need in any seat on any trip. Go online right now and get this exclusive TV offer. Buy one Be Cozy, get one 50% off. Get yours now.
What if getting older didn't mean living with joint discomfort, brain fog, or low energy? Qualia Senolytic is the only all-in-one clinically tested formula with 9 ingredients designed to help your body clear aging cells. Taken just 2 days a month, this regimen works at the cellular level to rejuvenate energy and support longevity, helping you stay active and energized. With Qualia Senolytic, life truly gets better with age. Start today at qualialife.com/TV.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble. And even the best kibbles still get kibbled. Which means they're ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. Then they have to add synthetic nutrients back in just to meet label requirements.
Are they all like this?
Sadly, they are. These poor pups have low energy, bad digestion, itchiness, and allergies, all from eating ultra-processed junk food for every single meal. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Real meats, real fruits, real veggies, nothing else. Never kibbled.
You got it, kid. So don't kibble your dog. Dr. Marty will make your best friend healthier, and they're gonna love it, guaranteed.
Set sail toward fast asthma relief with Brethora.
$300 for a refill?
Don't pay that. Use Single Care. Look up your prescription, show the coupon to the pharmacist, and save.
See why more people are saving with Single Care.
At Lumber Liquidators, we have the best prices on flooring, and we guarantee it. Find a lower price, we will beat it with our best price guarantee. We have over 200 stores nationwide. Find yours at lumberliquidators.com. Tell them Tom sent you.
Well, naughty or nice, the state of Illinois has released its list of personalized license plates that were rejected in 2025. Some of them were very naughty, many totally unsafe for television. We listened to the announcement from the Illinois Secretary of State, and here is some of what we were actually able to air.
Some of the rejected plates included BBL, which apparently stands for Brazilian butt lift, which had to be explained to me. Blue ballin', I don't think they're referring to DePaul's basketball program. ICUP, this one, I guess you just say the letters. Apparently a 10-year-old requested this one. SNDUDZ, this apparently stands for send nudes. No thanks. BDASMOM, this is short for badass mom. I keep telling my wife to stop requesting this plate.
The Illinois Secretary of State also said that there were far raunchier and inappropriate plates that even he could not read. I want to thank the state of Illinois for at least attempting to maintain some decorum on the roads. Well, folks, as we enter America's 250th year, keep proper perspective, folks. Our world can be a noisy and difficult place, but there is far more beauty and light than there is darkness if you seek it out. I hope you spend more time with family and friends, pets and creation. Take time to put down the phone and even turn off the television. In 2026, I hope we can love our neighbors as ourselves a little more, have more faith in God, in our nation, in ourselves, and find reasons to have greater faith in others too. Maybe work together always to prove to the world that this nation is still a beacon of freedom and the last best hope of Earth. On behalf of Greta Van Susteren and our entire Newsmax team, Happy New Year, folks. The Chris Salcedo Show is up next.